The cold void of space stretched endlessly around the Stanton system, a cluster of planets and moons that had become humanity's new frontier. Pilots from all corners of the galaxy were buzzing with excitement over one thing: Star Citizen's latest PTU update for version 4.1. Among them was Alex, a scrappy pilot who spent most days hauling cargo between outposts on makeshift ships cobbled together from spare parts. Alex wasn't just any pilot, they were part dreamer, part tinkerer, always chasing the thrill of flying something faster, louder, better. For weeks now, rumors had been swirling about what this update would bring. New engine sounds for the Arrow, Cutlass, and Lightning, the three ships every serious pilot wanted under their belt, had leaked onto forums and comms channels. Some claimed it was nothing but hype, others swore they could already hear the roar of engines revving up through their headsets during test flights. Either way, everyone agreed, these updates weren't just technical improvements, they were game changers. Alex sat inside their battered Aurora MR, docked at Port Olisar, scrolling through an endless stream of posts on Spectrum. One thread caught their eye, a clip uploaded by someone claiming to have flown the revamped Cutlass Black. In the video, the ship's engines growled like a predator ready to pounce, each burst of acceleration accompanied by a deep, resonant rumble that sent shivers down Alex's spine. They replayed the clip 4 times before slamming their fist against the control panel in frustration. "I need those engines," Alex muttered to themselves. "But I can't afford another upgrade, not yet." Their thoughts drifted back to the past few months. It hadn't been easy scraping together credits after losing their last job when a deal went south. A client stiffed them on payment mid-delivery, leaving Alex stranded halfway across the system with no fuel and even less patience. Since then, they'd taken whatever odd jobs came their way, from mining asteroids to smuggling questionable goods. But none of it added up fast enough to buy anything decent. Still, the promise of piloting a ship with those engine sounds kept them going. Later that evening, as artificial daylight dimmed aboard Port Olisar, Alex wandered into the local bar, hoping to drown their worries in cheap synth ale. The place was packed tonight, filled with pilots swapping stories and showing off holos of their prized ships. At the far end of the counter, 2 veterans argued loudly about whether the Arrow's new sound profile lived up to its sleek design. Alex slid onto a stool nearby, eavesdropping shamelessly. "That little dart's got bite now," one of them exclaimed, gesturing wildly with his drink. "It screams like a banshee tearing through re-entry." "Yeah, but you're forgetting the Cutlass," the other countered. "That thing's a beast." "Low-end growl? Forget about it. Feels like thunder in your chest." Alex couldn't help but interject. "What about the Lightning? Any word on how it stacks up?" Both men turned to look at them, surprised someone dared join their debate. After a moment, the first speaker shrugged. "Lightning's quick, sure, but it's not just about speed anymore. It's the sound. Makes you feel alive, like you're riding lightning itself." A grin spread across Alex's face despite their financial woes. These ships weren't just machines, they were experiences. And if there was one thing Alex craved more than anything else right now, it was the chance to experience something extraordinary. As the night wore on, talk shifted to speculation about where players might find the best opportunities to test drive the updated models. Someone mentioned Area 18, the bustling trade hub on ArcCorp, while another swore Grim HEX was running demos for anyone brave enough to venture near pirate territory. None of it mattered much to Alex, they didn't have access to any of those ships anyway. All they had was their Aurora, patched together so many times it barely resembled its original form. But then, an idea began to take shape. What if they didn't need to buy one of these ships outright? What if there was another way to get behind the controls, even just for a short while? By the time Alex stumbled back to their ship, slightly tipsy but brimming with determination, they'd hatched a plan. Tomorrow, they'd head to Lorville, the sprawling cityscape on Hurston, and see if anyone there was willing to rent out a demo flight, or maybe strike a deal for a temporary loan. Whatever it took, Alex vowed silently as they climbed into their cockpit, they'd hear those engine sounds for themselves. Little did they know, their quest for the ultimate flight experience was about to lead them straight into trouble, and perhaps something far greater than they'd ever imagined. The next morning, Alex set a course for Lorville, the bustling metropolis sprawled across Hurston's dusty surface. As their aurora hummed through the atmosphere, the skyline came into view, a jagged forest of neon-lit skyscrapers and sprawling industrial zones. Lorville wasn't exactly known for its charm, it was loud, chaotic, and perpetually smoggy. But it was the trading hub of Stanton, which meant there were always ships for sale, or at least people willing to negotiate. Alex landed at one of the smaller landing pads on the outskirts of the city, avoiding the hefty docking fees charged by the central towers. They stepped out onto the platform, squinting against the harsh sunlight filtered through layers of pollution. The air smelled faintly of burnt metal and ozone, but Alex didn't mind. This place was alive with opportunity, or so they hoped. Their first stop was a crowded market square tucked between two towering warehouses. Vendors hawked everything from second-hand ship parts to bootleg snacks, their voices rising above the din of engines roaring overhead. Alex weaved through the crowd, scanning for anyone who might have connections to pilots or dealers with access to upgraded ships. Looking for something specific, a voice called out as Alex passed a stall piled high with holographic displays showcasing various ships. They turned to see a wiry man with grease-streaked hands leaning casually against his counter. His name tag read, Ray. "I'm looking for a demo flight," Alex said bluntly. "Preferably an Arrow, Cutlass, or Lightning." Ray raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "You're not exactly dressed like someone who can afford one of those beauties." Alex ignored the jab. "I don't need to buy it. Just let me take it for a spin. I'll pay whatever you ask." Ray chuckled, shaking his head. "Kid, these aren't toys. Nobody rents them out without serious collateral. You got anything worth risking?" Alex hesitated. Their Aurora was all they had left, and even that was barely holding together. Still, desperation pushed them to try. "What if I work off the cost? Maybe help you move some cargo or fix up a ship? I'm good with repairs." Ray studied them for a moment before shrugging. "Sorry, kid. Not my call. Try talking to Clara over at Hangar 17. She handles rentals for fancy stuff like that. But fair warning, she doesn't cut deals." With nothing else to go on, Alex thanked Ray and headed toward Hangar 17. It wasn't hard to find, the massive structure loomed over the surrounding buildings, its entrance flanked by armed guards. Inside, the hangar buzzed with activity. Techs scurried around sleek ships undergoing maintenance, while wealthy clients lounged in plush waiting areas, sipping drinks and chatting about their latest exploits. At the front desk, a sharp-eyed woman with short-cropped hair greeted Alex with a polite but wary smile. Her name tag confirmed she was Clara. "How can I help you today?" she asked, her tone professional but distant. "I heard you rent out demo flights," Alex said quickly. "I'm interested in trying out one of the new models, the ones with the updated engine sounds." Clara leaned back slightly, crossing her arms. "Those ships are in high demand. We require a substantial deposit, plus proof of piloting experience. Do you meet those requirements?" Alex swallowed hard. "Not exactly, but I'm willing to make it worth your while. Is there any other way?" Clara sighed, glancing at the queue forming behind Alex. "Look, kid, I get it. Everyone wants to fly the latest gear. But unless you've got creds or collateral, I can't help you. Come back when you're ready." Defeated but unwilling to give up, Alex wandered back outside. The disappointment weighed heavily, but they refused to let it crush them. There had to be another way. As they walked aimlessly through the streets, Alex noticed a group of rough-looking individuals huddled near an alleyway. One of them caught sight of Alex and motioned them closer. Against their better judgment, Alex approached cautiously. "You look like someone who needs a break," the leader of the group said, his voice low and gravelly. He introduced himself as Jace, a smuggler with ties to Grim Hex. "We've got a job that could pay well enough to get you what you want. Interested?" Alex hesitated. Dealing with pirates was risky business, but then again, so was chasing dreams in a broken-down Aurora. "What kind of job?" they asked finally. Jace smirked. "A simple pickup. Nothing fancy. Meet us tonight at Dock 42 if you're game." It wasn't much of a plan, but for now, it was all Alex had. With a nod, they agreed to meet later, already wondering if this decision would lead to glory or disaster. As dusk settled over Lorville, the city transformed into a labyrinth of flickering neon lights and shadowy corners. Alex made their way to Dock 42, a grimy, poorly lit area tucked away from the main thoroughfares. The air here smelled different, sharp with the tang of fuel and something faintly metallic. It was clear this part of town catered to those who preferred discretion over luxury. When Alex arrived, Jace and his crew were already waiting, leaning casually against a rusted cargo container. Their ship, a battered but functional freelancer, sat idling nearby, its engines emitting a low, steady hum that seemed almost mournful compared to the thunderous roars Alex dreamed of hearing. "You showed up," Jace said, cracking a grin as he straightened up. "I wasn't sure you'd have the guts." "I need this," Alex replied firmly, ignoring the jab. "What's the job?" Jace gestured for Alex to follow him deeper into the shadows. He pulled out a datapad and tapped it a few times before handing it over. On the screen was an image of a small, unmarked crate along with coordinates pointing to a remote outpost on Daymar, one of Hurston's moons. "Simple pickup," Jace explained. "Grab the crate, bring it back here. No questions asked. You do that, and we'll pay you enough to cover your demo flight, and maybe even leave you with some creds to spare." Alex studied the datapad, their brow furrowing. "What's in the crate?" Jace chuckled darkly. "That's the no questions asked part. Look, kid, I don't care if you're curious or not. All you need to know is that it's valuable, and people are expecting it. Just get it done, and we'll call it square." Despite the warning bells going off in their head, Alex nodded slowly. They didn't have many options left, and the promise of earning enough to finally hear those engine sounds was too tempting to pass up. "All right," they said finally. "I'll do it." Jace clapped them on the shoulder. "Good choice. Now, take this." He handed Alex a small device, a comms link pre-programmed with the destination. "Follow the route, avoid patrols, and don't draw attention to yourself. Got it?" With nothing more than a nod, Alex climbed into their Aurora and set off toward Daymar. The journey was long and uneventful at first, giving Alex plenty of time to second-guess their decision. What if the crate contained something illegal? Or worse, dangerous? But each time doubt crept in, they reminded themselves why they were doing this, to chase the thrill of flying something extraordinary. By the time Alex reached the designated coordinates, the landscape had shifted dramatically. Daymar was desolate, its surface scarred by mining operations and littered with abandoned equipment. The outpost itself looked like it hadn't seen activity in years, its skeletal frame rising ominously against the pale moonlight. Alex landed cautiously, scanning the area for signs of trouble. The crate was exactly where the coordinates indicated, sitting alone in the middle of a dusty clearing. As they approached it, however, they noticed something odd. The lock mechanism was already broken, as though someone had tampered with it recently. A sinking feeling settled in Alex's stomach. This wasn't right. Something about this whole situation felt off. Before they could investigate further, the sound of approaching engines shattered the silence. Two ships descended rapidly from the sky, their spotlights slicing through the darkness. Pirates, or bounty hunters? Either way, Alex knew they were in trouble. Without hesitation, Alex sprinted back to their Aurora, heart pounding. They fired up the engines and lifted off just as the other ships opened fire, bolts of energy zipping past dangerously close. Adrenaline surged through them as they pushed the Aurora to its limits, weaving between rocky formations and debris fields in a desperate attempt to lose their pursuers. For a moment, it seemed like they might actually make it. But then, a lucky shot clipped their rear stabilizer, sending the ship spiraling out of control. Alex fought to regain stability, managing to level out just long enough to see a glimmer of hope ahead, a narrow canyon that might provide cover. With no other choice, they dove into the canyon, praying their battered Aurora could hold together long enough to escape. Behind them, the enemy ships hesitated, unwilling to risk following into such treacherous terrain. As Alex emerged on the other side, battered but alive, they realized two things: first, they still had the crate. And second, whatever was inside it, it was worth killing for. The adrenaline coursing through Alex's veins began to ebb as they put distance between themselves and the pursuing ships. The Aurora groaned under the strain of its damaged systems, but it held together, barely. For now, they were safe, hidden in the shadow of a jagged asteroid field orbiting Daymar. Alex leaned back in their seat, taking a moment to catch their breath. But there was no time to rest. Not yet. The crate sat secured in the cargo hold, its presence both a lifeline and a mystery. Whatever was inside had nearly gotten them killed, and whoever wanted it badly enough to chase them down wasn't going to stop anytime soon. Alex opened the cockpit door and climbed into the cramped cargo bay. The crate was small, about the size of a carry-on suitcase, with reinforced corners and a digital lock that blinked red. They examined it carefully, looking for any markings or labels that might give away its contents. There were none. Whoever packed this thing didn't want anyone knowing what was inside. Frustrated but determined, Alex pulled out their multi-tool and began working on the lock. It wasn't easy, the mechanism was sophisticated, likely designed to resist tampering, but after several tense minutes, they managed to bypass it. With a soft click, the lid popped open. Inside, nestled within layers of protective foam, was a sleek black device no larger than a datapad. Its surface shimmered faintly, as though alive with energy. A single button glowed faintly at its center, pulsing like a heartbeat. Alex stared at it, unsure whether to feel awe or dread. "What the hell is this?" they muttered aloud, turning the device over in their hands. There were no instructions, no branding, nothing to indicate its purpose. But one thing was certain: this wasn't just some random piece of contraband. This was something far more valuable, and dangerous. Before Alex could ponder further, the ship's proximity alert blared, snapping them back to reality. Another vessel had entered the vicinity, a massive freighter bearing the insignia of Crusader Industries. Alex froze. Crusader was known for its strict enforcement of Stanton's laws, and their security forces weren't exactly forgiving when it came to smugglers or pirates. "Crap," Alex whispered, scrambling back to the cockpit. They powered up the Aurora and plotted a hasty course toward the nearest slip point, hoping to lose the freighter in the vastness of space. But the ship was fast, closing the gap quickly despite the Aurora's best efforts. As the freighter loomed closer, a transmission crackled through the comms. "Unidentified vessel, you are carrying stolen property. Surrender immediately, or we will open fire." Alex clenched their jaw, gripping the controls tightly. Surrender wasn't an option, not now, not when they were so close to uncovering the truth about the mysterious device. Instead, they banked sharply, ducking behind a cluster of asteroids. The move bought them precious seconds as the freighter's weapons tore harmlessly into the rocks instead of their hull. Breathing hard, Alex activated the Aurora's emergency thrusters, sending the ship hurtling forward in a burst of speed. The maneuver drained what little power remained in the already strained engines, but it worked. They slipped out of range just as the freighter prepared another volley. For the next hour, Alex zigzagged through asteroid fields and debris clouds, dodging patrols and scanners until they finally reached a quiet stretch of empty space. Exhausted and shaken, they dropped out of top speed and allowed themselves a moment to regroup. Back in the cargo bay, Alex stared once again at the enigmatic device. Whatever it was, it had drawn the attention of pirates, bounty hunters, and crusader industries. That meant it was important, perhaps even revolutionary. And if Alex played their cards right, it might be the key to securing everything they'd been chasing: freedom, adventure, and yes, those glorious new engine sounds. But first, they needed answers. And Alex knew exactly where to start looking. With the mysterious device safely stowed and their ship limping along, Alex set a course for Port Olisar. It wasn't the safest choice. Security forces often patrolled the area, but it was the only place they could think of with access to reliable intel. If anyone knew what this thing was, it would be someone there. As the Aurora docked, Alex kept their head low, slipping through the crowded corridors toward the local cantina. The dimly lit bar was packed with pilots, traders, and mercenaries, all eager to blow off steam after long days in the Averse. Alex scanned the room, searching for a familiar face, or at least someone who looked like they might have answers. Their eyes landed on Finn, a grizzled mechanic known for his uncanny ability to fix anything, and his knack for knowing things he shouldn't. He was seated at a corner table, nursing a drink while tinkering with a small piece of tech. Alex approached cautiously, sliding into the seat across from him. "Finn," they said quietly. "Got a minute?" Finn glanced up, his sharp eyes narrowing slightly. "Alex. Haven't seen you around lately. What's up?" "I need your help." Alex pulled the device from their jacket and placed it on the table. "Do you know what this is?" Finn leaned forward, inspecting the object carefully. His expression shifted from curiosity to unease. "Where'd you get this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's not important," Alex replied. "What matters is figuring out what it does, and why everyone seems to want it." Finn hesitated, glancing around the room to ensure no one was listening. This looks like prototype tech. Experimental stuff. I've heard rumors about Crusader working on some kind of advanced engine mod, a game changer for flight performance. But if this is real," he trailed off, shaking his head. "You're playing with fire here, kid." Alex felt a flicker of excitement mixed with dread. Could this be related to the new engine sounds everyone was raving about? Was it possible they'd stumbled onto something bigger than they'd imagined? "Can you unlock it?" Alex pressed. "Or at least tell me how to use it." Finn sighed, running a hand over his stubbled chin. "I can try. But it'll cost you. And if word gets out that I helped you," he let the sentence hang ominously. "I'll make it worth your while," Alex promised. They didn't have much left to offer, but desperation made them bold. "Just name your price." After a long pause, Finn nodded. "All right. Give me an hour. Meet me in Hangar 9, if we're lucky, we'll figure this thing out before someone else comes looking for it." As Alex left the cantina, their mind raced. This gamble might pay off, or it might lead them straight into deeper trouble. Either way, one thing was clear: the stakes had just gotten higher. An hour later, Alex returned to Hangar 9, their nerves stretched taut. Finn was already there, hunched over a cluttered workbench with the device hooked up to a diagnostic rig. Wires snaked across the table, connecting it to a battered holoscreen that flickered with streams of data. "Did you figure it out?" Alex asked, stepping closer. Finn glanced up, his face pale but excited. "Yeah, I did. And you're not gonna believe this." He tapped a few commands on the screen, and a schematic appeared, blueprints for what looked like an engine component unlike anything Alex had ever seen. "This," Finn said, pointing to the design, "isn't just some upgrade. It's a prototype quantum resonance modulator. Supposedly, it enhances engine performance by syncing with quantum fluctuations in space. Faster speeds, smoother maneuvers, and those new engine sounds? They're a side effect of the resonance field." Alex's heart raced. This was it, the breakthrough everyone had been talking about. But if this modulator was so revolutionary, why wasn't it public yet? Why were people willing to kill for it? Who else knows about this? Alex asked cautiously. Finn shrugged. Not many. Crusader Industries has kept it under wraps, probably because they don't want competitors stealing the tech. But someone leaked it, or stole it, and now every faction in the Faverse is scrambling to get their hands on it. Before Alex could respond, the hangar doors slid open with a loud hiss. Two armed figures stepped inside, their weapons trained directly at them. One of them, a tall, imposing woman with a scar running down her cheek, spoke coldly. Hand over the modulator, she demanded. Now. Alex froze, their mind racing. These weren't pirates or bounty hunters, they were professionals, likely hired by one of the factions vying for control of the tech. Fighting back wasn't an option, even Finn looked uneasy, raising his hands slowly. But Alex refused to give up without a fight, not after coming this far. With a quick glance at Finn, they whispered, "Distract them." Without waiting for a response, Alex grabbed the modulator and bolted toward the nearest exit. Shots rang out behind them, ricocheting off metal walls as they sprinted through the maze-like corridors of Port Olisar. Their only advantage was speed, and luck. Reaching an emergency airlock. Alex sealed themselves inside just as alarms began blaring throughout the station. Breathing hard, they activated their comms link, sending a single message to Jace, "I've got something you'll want to see. Meet me at Dock 42. Then, clutching the modulator tightly, Alex prepared to make their escape. Whatever happened next, they knew one thing for sure, their life would never be the same again. By the time Alex reached Dock 42, their body was running on pure adrenaline. The Aurora sat waiting, its battered frame a stark contrast to the sleek ships surrounding it. Jace and his crew were already there, their expressions a mix of curiosity and impatience. "You're late," Jace growled as Alex climbed out of the ship. "And you've got company." Sure enough, 3 ships descended into view, their markings unmistakably tied to Crusader Industries. Alex cursed under their breath but didn't hesitate. They held up the quantum resonance modulator, catching Jace's attention. "This is what everyone's been chasing," Alex said quickly. "It's worth more than any job you've ever pulled. Help me get out of here, and I'll cut you in." Jace's eyes narrowed, weighing the risk against the reward. Finally, he nodded. "All right, kid. But if this blows up in our faces, you're on your own." The group sprang into action. While Jace's crew prepped their freelancer for takeoff, Alex installed the modulator into the Aurora's engine core, a risky move, but one they had no choice but to make. As the device synced with the ship's systems, the Aurora roared to life in a way it never had before. The engines hummed with newfound power, vibrating with a deep, resonant growl that sent shivers down Alex's spine. "Let's go!" Jace shouted, climbing into his ship. Alex didn't need to be told twice. They launched the Aurora into the sky, the upgraded engines propelling them forward with breathtaking speed. Behind them, Crusaders' ships gave chase, firing relentlessly. But this time, Alex wasn't running blindly, they were flying like never before, weaving through obstacles with precision and grace. With Jace providing cover fire, they managed to slip into a nearby asteroid field, losing their pursuers in the chaos. When the coast was clear, Alex set a course for uncharted space, leaving Stanton behind. As the stars blurred past, Alex leaned back in their seat, a grin spreading across their face. For the first time in years, they felt truly alive. The thrill of flight, the promise of discovery, it was everything they'd dreamed of. But deep down, Alex knew this was only the beginning. The modulator had changed everything, opening doors to possibilities they couldn't yet imagine. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain, they were ready to face it head-on. And somewhere in the distance, the universe waited.